Okay, this is today's religious talk, and I'm going to be discussing the workplace, or as I like to call it, the war place, because this is where we do much of our battles. So, this is why the word work sounds like war, and you got to be dressed for war. Hence, why you have a wardrobe, because you're dressed for battle. So, if you're fortunate to work in a great environment, then this message is not for you. I want to talk to the people who are really doing battle out there, the ones who know that the workplace is a battleground, the ones who have to exchange time for money, right? Because, as you know, money is the blood of the system. We have to work to sustain our existence on planet Earth because Earth is not a free planet. Everything costs down here. You have to have money to live, and you have to work to get money. So just because money's made from trees doesn't mean it falls off them. The Bible says, by the sweat of your brow ye shall eat. So you got to sweat and labor, whether it's blue collar or white collar, no matter what you're doing, you got to work. So the workplace can really break a lot of people down mentally. It can drain your energy and leave you depleted. So it's all about how you deal with it. How do we survive? How can we endure the harsh realities of certain work environments and just how difficult it is to keep your job? I once heard a great slogan. Someone said, it was funny. They said, I actually have two jobs. My first job and my second job is keeping my first one. And that resonated with me because it holds quite true. Because you have to be diplomatic. You have to basically keep your first job. And that's almost like a second job in itself. So this is what it is, because there's so many people out there on the job that want you to lose your job. And this is because the workplace is extremely competitive. Everyone wants to outdo, outperform, and outshine each other. And the extent that certain individuals will go to discredit others will determine the quality of your work experience. So trust no one and be of few words. But at the same time, don't become antisocial, because then you marginalize yourself and you get labeled. And everyone likes to slap a label on people. This is where gossip comes in. And gossip is notorious in workplace settings, particularly office environments, right? So to keep it all the way real, to be honest, there really is no winning. It's a lose-lose situation. But, what can you do? If you're too friendly, you get taken advantage of, right? People will think you're too nice. But if you're too conservative and reserved, then some people will resent you, right? They won't like you because they think that you think you're too nice or too stuck up or whatever. Meanwhile, you're just trying to protect yourself. But also, it's because you don't give them enough information about you to label you, right? You don't give them enough details about your life, so they have nothing to use against you. So that's the problem for other individuals. But it's about balance, right? So you got to know how to regulate. That's the key. Because you see, now at work, you have two lines, right? You got the horizontal line and the vertical line. And this is what makes the cross. The horizontal is your relationships with coworkers, people that you're equal to on your level. That's your horizontal relationships. And the vertical line, or your vertical relationships, is your relationships to your boss or your bosses, depending on how many you have, right? Or any person or department that you have to answer to, right? So it's about accountability, the people that you have to be accountable to, right? So now, to a certain extent, you have to sacrifice your ego and suppress your pride. And this is extremely difficult for people to do, right? It's a hard thing to do, but it's a necessary thing to do. It's a necessary strategy for your survival. Otherwise, you won't sustain your employment. You won't have a job, right? So, how do we relate this to the Bible? When we look at the Bible, right? What does the Bible say about work, right? So, work is a critical part of our existence as human beings on this planet. Work takes about the majority of our time, right? We have our home life, and then we have the time we spend at work. This is why everyone's raving over this new concept, work-life balance, right? So when you look at when Jesus, or in the Bible, it says slaves obey your masters, some believe that this passage was written to advocate slavery, and maybe it was, but who cares, right? The way I'm taking it now, I look at it as cautionary advice for the modern world. Oh, yes. And I'm going to apply it to the situation today, because to a certain extent, you have to be subservient for the sake of your employment. So, yeah, obey your earthly masters. You bet. Slaves, obey your earthly masters because you have no choice unless you want to lose your job, right? What other recourse do you have? You think you're just going to turn up in the office, you know, and fight the power? That's dead. And then what? Then what will you do, right? When you end up in the abyss, in no man's land, or the unemployment line. So we are not all blessed and fortunate to be superstars and athletes, the ones who are blessed with incredible singing voices or who have a superior athletic ability, to become entertainers and celebrities. Not all of us get that card in life, right? And even they have to put up with a lot of ish too. Don't get it twisted. Their lives are not as peachy as they appear to be. Even though they're set before us as the celestials, I call them the celebrities, because the Bible says don't worship the stars. So they're put as icons. They're put up there for us to look up to aspire to. Modern day idolatry, celestial worship, worshiping the stars, and worshiping idols, people that can't do anything for us. So, but for the majority of people, unless you're born rich or you're an entrepreneur, we have to sell our skills to the market. And the market will essentially determine our value. So we have to play the job market. So work is an inevitability for most. It's an inevitability, right? Unless you plan on going the criminal route. And you know how that ends up. Prison or death. So no way in hell. So don't be, beguiled by the entrapments of our lovely trap music culture, pushing a degenerative culture, romanticizing criminality, because that's just complete garbage and that will steal your life away. I can go into a whole other topic about that. But yeah, so I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to give advice to disempower people, right? Especially if you're a man. I know it can be very emasculating, certain workplace environments, the way they make you feel. But I'm just trying to protect you. This is cautionary advice to keep you safe. That way you can maintain steady income to support yourself and loved ones during these harsh economic times. So yes, you might have to take a lot of shite, to call it, but just examine the bigger picture. Look at the bigger picture. Calculate the costs and decide, is it worth it to react? These little situations that transpire or take place within the confines of the workplace, right? You got to calculate the costs. You don't always have to react to everything, whether someone insulted you or little sly remark here and there, or hey, maybe even get passed up for a promotion that you felt justify that you thought that you were going to get that promotional opportunity. You got to keep it tight, right? You have to endure all these injustices that take place because, quite frankly, you don't want to lose your economic footing over nonsense. It's simply not worth it, right? Like, ideally, yeah, it would be nice if we all could be entrepreneurs. That would be the ideal situation, right? Working for yourself. But not everyone is meant to be a boss. Not everyone is meant to have their own company. Some of us have to work for others, right? So maybe there will be that Moses type figure that will lead an exodus from corporate bondage to freedom, the promised land, right? Independence. But until then, we have to endure and stay strong because these bills are not going to stop coming in. That's one thing for sure. They show up every month, right? I call them bills, as in what is it? The demon in the Bible, Baal. Payments and bills, right? There's another demon named payment as well. If you go deep into the etymology, it gets deep, right? Payments and bills. Two demons that show up in your life every month, right? So we just have to understand what's at stake. So just to reiterate, I want to make it clear that you only have so many options in this life. One, if you're a benefactor or a beneficiary of transgenerational wealth inheritance, maybe you got a cushy life. Maybe you don't have to work. How fortunate for you, right? But you still have to find something to do to pass your time. So you either inherit wealth or, what are the chances you're going to win it from the lottery, right? You're going to have a windfall, or you might have to engage in illegal activity, which is the worst thing. So, whether you win money, inherit money, or steal money, right? Other than that, you'll be lucky if you're born with some exceptional talent that propels you to superstardom, or you become some famous entertainer. But if you're not going to start your own business, you're going to have to work for people, and you're going to have to know how to deal with people, and you have to understand how to be subservient, how to put your pride to the side, how to take constructive criticism. Constructive criticism, that's a big one, because they might highlight your flaws, things that you need to improve upon, whether professionally or socially. Because now the new thing now, a lot of these workplaces, they're doing assessments on your personality profiles, right? They want to know how you socialize, or are you even socialized properly, how you interact with others. These are all big things within the corporate world, right? So you're being graded in two areas: your interpersonal activity, the interpersonal space, how you socialize with others around you, above you, and on your level, and also professionally, your competency, right? Are you competent in your job? So there's two areas that we have to pay attention to, we have to focus on. So this is today's religious talk, and on that note, I will leave and say the word of the day. I want to say resilience, being resilient and not letting anything affect you. So keep your mind strong.